What's up, guys? This is OmegaLiar, and today I'm back bringing you my SVU tips and tricks commentary. And this is one that I actually got requested a couple of times through emails, and well, not really emails, more like messages, but not the point. Anyway, before I get into the video, I would just, as always, like to ask you to please like the video either before or after, and just try to remember because it really helps me out. I appreciate the support, and it motivates me to make more of these. And trust me, I definitely want to make more of these. I enjoy doing this. Now, on to the gameplay. Here I'm using a bit of a complicated setup because, as with most of my gameplays that are based around gun tips, I use only that gun. So I'm using just an SVU, and I have attachments Silencer and ACOG. My perks, Hardline, Ghost, I believe Scavenger, and Toughness, and then I think Dexterity. Perk setup, or not perk setup, sorry, Killstreak setup, Orbital VStat, Lodestar, VTOL Warship, kind of a big setup there. But I was feeling pretty confident when I got this gameplay. Now, let's talk about the SVU, because there's two ways to use this weapon. The first way is as a very precise semi-automatic sniper rifle that's very forgiving. And what I mean by that is the fact that the SVU, unsilenced, has a one-shot headshot and one-shot neck shot. And that's it. Every other part is going to take 2 shots no matter what. And even oftentimes through walls, it'll still only be 2 because of its high damage. But that's not really something you're going to have to worry about too much. For the most part, it's a 2-shot kill, unless you get lucky. And that's why you see me using the setup here. While yes, the headshots can have a huge benefit, and it definitely could pay off in the long run, I personally don't think that it's reliable enough or effective enough to actually consider as a full-on tactic. So what I like to do with this weapon is turn it into a hybrid assault rifle. A gun with decent mobility, very, very good range, very high power, and all around just good versatility. This gun is good anywhere out from medium range to extremely long range, and it even has some capability up close. You could consider putting a laser sight. I personally won't. So the idea here is to have a close range to medium range to long range, whatever you want, assault rifle. That's a consistent 2-shot kill. I guess you could call the recoil moderate. It's not something you'll really tend to notice, and the fire rate cap is actually pretty good. So you can fire it fairly quickly. Personally, I can oversample it and fire 2 minutes faster than the game will actually let me go, and that can run into issues. But with a little bit of I guess control, it's really not that big of a deal. So now there are a couple of things you have to keep in mind if you use this weapon as what I personally feel is the most effective way to use it, which is a hybrid assault rifle. You no longer with the silencer have a one-shot headshot, and that could be potentially a problem. But I think that's outweighed by the fact that you have the slightly faster zoom-in time of the ACOG scope, the wide peripheral vision, and, let's be honest, most people don't really go for headshots anyway. It's something that kind of just happens. I mean, obviously, you could go for headshots, but it's not the most effective way. So what you kind of get from that is, well, just a new way to use this weapon. And it's a completely different kind of weapon than anything before, and it's got a lot of pretty practical uses. Also, I cut up the gameplay a little bit for entertainment's sake. So, yeah, I mean, I think personally that it can be very, very useful. Obviously better than the sniper rifle itself. If you want to snipe with a semi-automatic weapon, use the XPR. If you want to have a versatile weapon that's more or less like an assault rifle, use the SVU with a silencer and an ACOG. The closest comparison in-game that you can get to a gun like this would be the SMR, but there's a couple of vital differences, and there's actually a lot of reasons why I would actually choose the SVU over the SMR. That's not to say that I do choose the SVU over the SMR, but there are definitely a lot of situations where the SVU is better. The first of which is silenced or unsilenced. At no point will you ever be going for 3-shot kills. It's just 1, 2. Oftentimes 2 consecutive hits will do the trick, and you have nothing to worry about. Now, the other thing that happens with that is that basically the SMR does have a drop-off range. It's a pretty good drop-off range, and it's not something that you'll notice very often, but if you start to go into silence mode, or start to hit through walls, the 3-shot kill is definitely there. If I were to give a point of reference on a Ray, the 2-shot kill will probably last about from the nose of that plane, like the very tip of that plane, to the very bottom of that plane. So it's a pretty good range. And when I say bottom, I mean looking outwards from the top to like the edge of the plane. But the Dragunov, always 2-shot kill, and always very consistent. So, yes, you could argue that, well, the SMR is easier and you don't have to necessarily use ACOG, because ACOG is not everyone's favorite, I know that. But you will be giving up some of that advantage that you will get actually fairly often if you run it right. Now, obviously, maps are important. Here, I'm running it on a close-range map, but as you can see throughout the gameplay, I always kept myself to a long-range line of sight. When I was holding the spawn trap earlier, I was looking down the left side of the ship where it was a long-range sight, or I would turn around slowly and crouch to my right, where I could see and look all the way across the width of the boat. And from that, I never really was doing short-range engagements, and because of that, I was able to get out both my Lodestar and my VTOL warship. And eventually you'll see a second orbital B-set, which, according to my luck, leads me to die. But that's not such a big deal. Anyway, so you just got to know how to use the weapon. You have to know that it's got very high damage penetration through walls, and it's got consistent range. If you keep all these things in mind, I think you can definitely do well with the gun. Now, as far as perks go, not all the perks I was using here are necessary. In reality, I would probably drop the scavenger perk and maybe use like fast mags or extended mags. I guess actually scavenger is better than extended mags because for the extra ammo. But extended mags could also have more benefits if you get against 2 people, because 12 shots of middle is not that much, but I found it to be sufficient. Rarely with a semi-automatic weapon do you need more than half your bullets. So it's just 2 shots and done, 4 shots and done, 3 shots and done. So you can always play around with that. Also, hardline isn't necessarily... Ghost, definitely not necessary. I sort of run Ghost for a comfort thing, but it's not something that I really use all that often as far as my playstyle goes. But, so I would probably switch off Ghost for nothing at all, and just keep hardline, and then maybe get a 3rd attachment and scavenger, or something like that. But anyway, if you like this video, as always, comment, rate, subscribe. Hopefully this will enlighten you to try out some new weapons that you might not even know were good or there. So anyway, comment, rate, subscribe. See you in my next commentary. As always, thank you for watching. That's really about it. Have a good day. Peacekeeper coming next.